Hello. In today's video lecture, we are going to discuss one of the very important models of the structure of atom. Having gone through the Rutherford model, which for the first time gave a concrete idea about the internal structure, or simply say the structure of atoms, there we have come across some of the important merits which is still written in today's model also. But along with this, there are some important demerits. To overcome the objections of the Rutherford model and to explain the spectrum of hydrogen, means one electron, and hydrogen like species, so any species having one electron. So to explain the spectrum of hydrogen or hydrogen like species, we have introduced a new model that is known as Bohr's model. So the heading for today's discussion is Bohr's model. Now this Bohr's model is basically based on certain postulates. This is the model for the first time introduced, means this model is based on the concept of quantized energy level, because we have gone through Planck's quantum theory where we say energy absorbed or radiated by the system is not a continuous but a discrete or discontinuous process in the form of small packets of energy. That small packets of energy or discrete form of energy is what we call as quantized energy concept. So this theory is based on first theory based on the quantization of energy, quantized energy concept. First theory based on quantized energy concept. Now this model is based on certain postulates, so let me give you the postulate, because these postulates are very important for this theory, and from these postulates only we are going to derive a number of derivations. Postulates means important points or important assumptions. The first postulate says atoms, inside an atom we have a nucleus, and this nucleus contains the positively charged particles, protons and the neutrons. So that is the centrality of the nucleus. So this was the one which was given by Rutherford. So that postulate is still maintained here. So we have a nucleus. Around this nucleus we have electrons are revolving in circular orbits. So electrons revolve around nucleus in circular orbits. So we have these electrons. Electrons are moving around this nucleus, which is a positively charged, placed exactly at the center of atom. Around this we have electrons and circular orbits. So electrons are moving in circular orbits around this nucleus. Now the second postulate says, now these circular orbits to which electrons are being revolving around this nucleus, these orbits are permitted if and only if the angular momentum of the electron is an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Only those circular orbits are permitted only those circular orbits are permitted for which the orbital angular momentum is an integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where h is the Planck's constant. So that is, we define this angular momentum by this capital L. So capital L represents the angular momentum of electron in this circular orbit. So this angular momentum is equal to mass of electron into velocity of electron into r, radius. So mvr. So this is the mass of electron, this is the velocity of electron in nth orbit, radius of electron orbit is equals to n h by 2 pi. So if this condition is satisfied, then electron can be in that particular circular orbit. If this condition is not satisfied, angular momentum condition, this is one of the most important postulate of this Bohr's model. So angular momentum of the electron is only those circular orbits are permitted for which this angular momentum should be some integral multiple of h by 2 pi. So what is L? This represents angular momentum. M is mass of electron, V and velocity of electron in nth orbit. This may be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll give you. Rn, this is radius of nth orbit. N can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. N cannot be 0. N cannot be fraction. This has to be some integral multiples 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this N represents the shell number or orbit number. And this shell number or orbit number, this is what we call as principal quantum number. So the discovery of this quantum number discovery goes to the Rutherford principal quantum number. So this principal quantum number is nothing but the shell number or the orbit number. So now look at this, and again I am repeating, though we are saying electrons are moving in circular orbits, so only those circular orbits are permitted for which this angular momentum condition is satisfied. H is a Planck's constant whose value is 6.6 into 10 power minus 34 joule second. So number 3. Now this electrons moving in circular orbit has got a fixed amount of energy. So as long as electron is moving in a permitted orbit, these electrons does not radiate or does not lose or does not gain any energy. So that means whenever electron is in a particular permitted orbit, it has got a fixed amount of energy, and this electron does not lose energy as long as it is in this permitted orbit. So these permitted orbits, it has got a fixed amount of energy. These are known as stationary orbits. Electrons in a permitted orbit has a fixed energy. Electrons in a permitted orbit has a fixed energy, and they do not lose energy as long as they are in this permitted orbit. And these permitted orbits, are called stationary orbit. So if I say stationary orbit means a particular orbit which is permitted according to this model, means this condition is satisfied. So when the electron is in a particular permitted orbit or in a stationary orbit, these electrons has got a fixed amount of energy, and electron as long as in that particular orbit will not lose any amount of energy. Number 4 postulate regarding this Bohr's model is, now look at this, as we increase the distance of circular orbit, the energy possessed by the electron in that orbit also increases. As the distance of orbit increases, as the distance of orbit increases, energy of electron also increases. So we are going to prove this in later part of this Bohr's model. So as the distance of circular orbit increases from the nucleus, the energy of electron in the particular orbit also increases. So suppose if n, which represents the shell, if n equals to 1, this may have 3, this may have values, etc. So now look at this, if n equals to 1, we say this is K shell, 2L, 3M, 4N, O, P, Q, etc. So these are the shell numbers. If this is the shell number, then energy possessed by the electron, that is in 4 cell, this suppose this is E1, then E2, E3, E4, E5, etc. So now look at this. This theory says as the distance, okay, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, as the distance of shell increases, energy possessed by these electrons also increases. Now, but the energy difference between two adjacent level decreases, but energy difference decreases. Though energy possessed by electron in the circular orbit increases, but the energy difference between any two successive level decreases. So suppose look at this, E2 minus E1, energy difference between second orbit and third orbit or first orbit. This energy difference is greater than E3 minus E2, which is greater than E4 minus E3, which is greater than E5 minus E4. So now look at this, though energy increases, but the energy difference decreases. So as the energy difference decreases at very large distance, at infinitely large distance, this energy or difference is extremely small, and as if like this shows continuity. That means energy difference with extremely small, this will overlap, is giving like a continuous spectrum. So at very large distance from nucleus, energy difference becomes extremely small and the will be completely overlapped. That means the spacing, this shows that the spacing of this orbit is not irregular. So there is difference in the energies between the adjacent level, and this energy difference decreases as the distance from the nucleus increases. Then number 5 postulate, this says, now look at this, the emission or absorption of energy by the electron is in the form of electromagnetic radiations only. So whenever these electrons absorb energy or emit energy, this absorption or emission of energy can only take place in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So that means absorption or emission of energies is in the form of electromagnetic radiation That means, if suppose this is delta E, change in energy between two levels, if this is moving from lower level to higher level, there is absorption of energy, or if this is coming from higher level to lower level, this is known as emission of energy. So this absorption or emission of energy will be in the form of electromagnetic radiation h nu, or which is equals to hc by lambda. So this in absorption or emission of electrons should always be in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So this is En2 minus En1. So this absorption or emission, that is the difference between the energies of electrons in two different levels, N2 and N1. This absorption or emission must be in the form of electromagnetic radiation having frequency phi, nu or wavelength lambda. So this is the postulates. So now look at this. These are the main postulates of this Bohr's theory. Now, as long as this electron is moving in a particular permitted orbit, this electron is bound to the nucleus by a strong attractive force. So when this electron is moving in a particular orbit, as we have seen earlier, this contains a fixed amount of energy and this does not lose any energy, that is stationary orbit. So now look at this, electron is negatively charged, nucleus is positively charged, there must be a strong attractive force. So while this electron is moving in this circular orbit, the attractive force must be balanced by an outward force. So there must be balancing of this force. As long as this balance is there, electron will be in that particular orbit. If this balance is not, or if this is disturbed, then electrons will not be in that particular permitted orbit. So these are some of the postulates. Now we are going to use these postulates to derive some important derivations from this Bohr's model. So let's derive first the radius of this permitted circular orbits. That means important derivations. So first derivation is radius of circular orbit. Radius of circular orbit. So let this be Rn. So we are going to define the radius of various permitted orbits. Now let's suppose an electron of mass m with charge E and the nuclear charge Ze. So we are going to use some terms here. M is mass of electron, whose value is 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kilogram. E, charge of electron, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. V, that is the velocity of electron. R, this will be the radius of circular orbit. Then this Ze, that is total charge of nucleus, where Z is atomic number, So now look at this, we are going to use this. So an electron is moving in a particular circular orbit with charge E, total atomic number Z, and total positively charged, that is the nucleus charge of nucleus is Ze, radius Rn, velocity Ve, charge E, mass m. This is moving in a circular orbit. Now, as I just mentioned you, when this electron is moving in a circular orbit, the attractive force and the outward force, both these force must be exactly balanced. So now look at this. The attractive force of attraction, or the attractive force, which is known as centripetal force. So this force of attraction is between the oppositely charged species. One is electron, the other one is proton. So this equals to, that is protonic charge, this is electronic charge, divided by Rn square. This is the attractive force, which is also known as centripetal force, that acts between the oppositely charged species. So we can write down this as kz e square upon Rn square, where this k is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is a constant. So this epsilon naught, this is known as permittivity of the space, whose value is equals to 8.99 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square coulomb per coulomb square. So this k is equals to 1 in CGS, that is centimeter gram second scale, that is non-standard scale. So we have this. So this is the attractive force between the electron and the proton. Now, as this electron is moving in a circular orbit at a very high speed, so there must be some outward force. That outward force is known as the centrifugal force. Centrifugal force that is acting on this electron, this is equals to mvn square upon Rn. So v is the velocity of electron moving in a particular orbit. Rn, this is the distance of the circular orbit. Then you suppose, look at this, we have this is nucleus. Suppose electron is moving in this particular, this is the Rn, that is distance of the circular orbit. Now we have the electron here. So now this electron is moving around this circular orbit. So as this is moving with some velocity, now look at this. This is the attractive force, which is known as the centripetal force. So this is moving in a very high speed. So when this is moving in a very high speed, this electron will try to move outward. So that is what we call as the centrifugal force. So when this is moving in a very high speed, so this electron, the centripetal force and the centrifugal force, both these force should be balanced. So therefore, this force kz e square upon Rn should be equals to mvn square upon Rn, or we can say this mvn square is equals to kz e square upon Rn. So R will cancel now, so we have this. So let's say this is A. Now we have just seen one of the most important postulate of Bohr, that is angular momentum condition. So we have this mv and Rn, that is the angular momentum, which is equals to n h by 2 pi. So we have this angular momentum condition here. Let this be equation B. Now look at this. From this equation B, we can find out the value of velocity. So therefore, velocity n Vn is equals to nh by 2 pi m r n. So this is the velocity of electron in nth orbit. So now look at this. We can use the value of velocity of electron in nth orbit in this equation, right? So therefore from equation A we have, look at this, m v square is n h divided by 2 pi m r n square is equals to k z e square upon r n. So therefore look at this, we have m n square h square divided by 4 pi square m square r n square. This is equals to k z e square upon r n. So now look at this, r n. Now we have one r here, one r here, so we can cancel out here. Mass, one mass is cancelled out, so we have to find the value of radius. So therefore look at this, from this Rn is equals to n square divided by 4 pi square m k z e square. So this is the radius of a circular orbit in which the electron is moving. So we have this equation, that is the radius equation. So radius of any circular orbit Rn is equals to n square h square divided by 4 pi square m k z e square. So this is the final equation of this radius. So by use of this equation we can find out the radius of any circular object in which the electron is moving. So we can have n equals to 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So based on this we have to use the value of n here. Now look at this. Now we are going to short cut this equation so that it's very easy to remember, or it can be used for all these species. So now look at this. For hydrogen atom, in ground state, so ground state means n equals to 1, the lowest state, that is known as ground state. So for hydrogen atom, now look at this, at ground state, z equals to 1, n equals to 1. So if z equals to 1, n equals to 1, then this value r1, which is also known as r naught, sometimes in most of the book this is written as r naught, this is equals to, so n equals to 1, so we have h square divided by 4 pi square m k e square, because z comes out to be 1. Now if you look at this, for hydrogen atom in ground state, n equals to 1, this r1 or r naught is equals to h square by 4 pi square m k e square. Now all these values are constant. H is a constant, we know 6.6 into 10 power minus 34. We have 4 pi mass of electron, k e square, these are all constants. So using the values of all these constants, this value comes out to be 0.529 angstrom. So the value of the first permitted circular orbit of hydrogen is 0.0529. So this value, this is known as Bohr's radius. So if I say Bohr's radius, this is the radius of the first orbit of hydrogen atom, which is always a fixed quantity, that is 0.529 angstrom unit. So if this is the case, now look at this, we can use shortcut this. So for hydrogen atom in any state, so therefore in general, this is a generalized form, so we can write down for hydrogen atom, so this Rn will be equals to, now look at this, n is not a constant here because we are changing the values of n. Rest is constant, so we can say this is r naught into n square. So that means as the value of n increases, the radius of circular orbit also increases. For one electron species that is helium plus, lithium 2 plus, beryllium 3 plus, etc. These are the species containing one electron. So for all these one electron species, this radius can be modified as Rn equals to R naught n square divided by Z. So for hydrogen, Z equals to 1. For helium 2, lithium 3, beryllium 4, etc. So this is the equation of radius which is applicable to all one electron species. So just by using this value we can easily define the radius of any particular circular orbit of one electron species. So now look at this. Let's take this example. Now let's find out this R3 of lithium 2 plus ion. So now look at this. We have to find the radius of third orbit of lithium plus 2. Now for this lithium, Z equals to 3. So this n, this is n, the value of n, so n equals to 3. So we have this equation. So R3 for this lithium plus 2 is equals to R naught, n is equals to 3, so into 9 divided by Z, Z is 3, so this is equals to 3 times R naught. We know the value of R naught, we can easily find the result. So that means by use of this we can find out the radius of any circular permitted orbit in which the electron is moving. So the final equation is R naught is equals to, Rn is equals to R naught n square divided by Z. Z is the atomic number, n is the shell number, Rn is the radius of electron in that particular circular orbit, n is the orbit number, or which is known as shell number. So this is how we define the radius of a circular orbit. Now, having defined the radius of circular orbit, let's define the velocity of electron in a particular orbit. So that is Vn. We have to define the velocity of electron in a particular circular orbit. What is the velocity of electron? Now, we have this angular momentum condition mvn Rn is equals to nh by 2 pi, that is angular momentum condition. Now from this we can define, look at this velocity. So velocity of electron at nth orbit, this is equals to nh divided by 2 pi m Rn. Now we have the value of radius that we have just defined. So using the value of Rn, we have, look at this, nh divided by 2 pi m. Rn is n square h square by 4 pi square m k z e square. So this is, now look at this, mass will cancel out, so this comes out with 2 1 pi will cancel out. So what we have left is, look, is 1 n and this n will cancel out, h will cancel out, so this comes out to be 2 pi k z e square divided by n h. So this is the equation of the velocity of electrons in a circular orbit. So once we have this, look at this, we can simplify this for hydrogen or for any one electron species. For hydrogen atom, Z equals to 1 in ground state, that is n equals to 1. Now look at this V1 or V0 is equals to 2 pi k e square upon h, because Z equals to 1, n equals to 1. So all these are constants. So if you use the constant and simplify, this comes out to be 2.18 into 10 to the power 6 meter per second. So the velocity of electron in the first orbit of hydrogen, that is 2.18 into 10 to the power 6. So therefore, for this hydrogen atom, the velocity of electron in any orbit, this can be written as, so this value comes out to be V naught. So we have V naught into Z, Z is 1 divided by N. So that means as the shell number increases, velocity possessed by electron in the shell also decreases. So look at this. This is shell number. This is always a fixed quantity. That is 2.18 into 10 to the power 6 meter per second. So velocity of electron is inversely related to the shell number. As the shell number increases, velocity will decrease. So for one electron species like helium plus, lithium plus, this can be written as Vn, can be written as V naught into J divided by N. This is for one electron species. So let me give an example. Let's find out velocity of the third orbit of helium plus. So we have looked at this helium plus, Z is equals to 2, this equals to N, which is equals to 3. So therefore this equals to, we have this relationship V naught into Z, Z is 2 divided by N is 3. So the velocity of electron in the third orbit of hydrogen is 2 by 3 times the velocity of electron in the first orbit of hydrogen atom. So we know the value. So look at, this is always a constant we have to keep in mind. It is 2.18 into 10 per 6 meter per second. This is the velocity of electron in a permitted circular orbit. So after this, we are going to define the energy of electron. Energy of electron, that is En, energy of electron in a circular permitted orbit. Now this energy, that is total energy, this total energy must be energy, that is the potential energy of electron plus the kinetic energy possessed by this electron. So this potential energy is due to the Coulombic attractive force, is due to the Coulombic attractive force. So this potential energy which is due to the Coulombic attractive force between nucleus and the electron, so this value is equals to minus kz E square divided by Rn, because already we have gone through the attractive force. So this Coulombic force is due to attractive force nature, that is force of attraction into distance. So we have just simply attractive force is kz E square by Rn square, the distance is Rn, so force into distance, that is potential energy. This is the potential energy. Then we have kinetic energy. Kinetic energy of the electron in a particular orbit. This kinetic energy, which is equals to half mvn square. So half mvn square is equals to the kinetic energy. Now we have seen in the derivation of radius, we have seen mvn square is equals to kz E square divided by Rn. So therefore this kinetic energy is equals to kz E square upon 2 times Rn. So this is the potential energy which is equals to minus kz E square by Rn. Total kinetic energy is kz E square upon 2 times Rn. So if you look at this, the absolute values the absolute values of kinetic energy, absolute values without any sign, this is equals to half of the absolute values of the potential energy. So potential energy, absolute value is kz square by Rn, kinetic energy is half of potential energy. So now since we have this potential energy and the kinetic energy possessed by the electron, the total energy, this total energy which is equals to potential energy plus kinetic energy, so this comes out to be minus kz E square divided by Rn plus kz E square divided by 2Rn. So this equals to minus kz E square upon 2Rn. So if you look at this, the equation for final total kinetic energy is equals to the kinetic energy. So therefore the absolute values of total energy is equals to the absolute values of kinetic energy. There is a difference of sign. Kinetic energy is plus kz E square by 2Rn. Total potential total energy is minus kz E square upon Rn. So this is total energy. If you look at this total energy is equals to minus kz E square upon 2Rn. Now we have defined the radius of electron. We have just defined the radius of electron. So we use the radius of electron. So this is n square h square by 4 pi square m k z e square. This is the value of radius. So this comes out to be minus, so 4 2 will cancel out. So we have 2 pi square m k square z square e to the power 4 divided by n square h square. So this is the equation of the total energy possessed by electrons. So E total is minus 2 pi square m k square z square e to the power 4 divided by n square h square. Now first of all look at this, why the value of energy is negative. The value of energy of electron is negative. The reason being, when an electron is brought from infinite to nucleus to an atom, energy is released. So this is the meaning why this is negative. So energy is released when an electron is brought from to atom from infinity, because the energy of electron at infinity is 0. So when electron is brought from infinity to an atom, energy must be released, or we can say electron is more stabilized in an atom rather than at infinite distance, or we say when electron is placed in an atom, there is an attractive force. Because of this attractive force, energy must be released. So this is the meaning of this negative sign of electron. So energy of electron is negative, means energy is released when electron is brought to atom from infinite, because at this infinite distance energy of electron is 0. So now look at this, we are going to simplify this equation. For hydrogen atom Z equals to 1, in ground state, that is n equals to 1, E1, which is also written as E0, is equals to minus 2 pi square m k square e to the power 4 divided by h square. So all these values are constant. So we have this constant. This is equals to minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 joule per atom. This is equals to minus 1312 kilojoule per mole. This is also equals to minus 13.6 electron volt. So these are the various values of this electron energy in the first orbit of hydrogen. So these are the constants. So once we have this constant, we can simplify the equation as this En can be written as E naught divided by n square. So this is E naught divided by n square, that is for nth orbit. So for one electron, this is for hydrogen atom, for one electron species, this can be written as En is equals to E naught. So we have look at this Z here, E naught Z square divided by n square. So this is energy of electron in any particular orbit with atomic number Z. So now look at this. Let's say for hydrogen atom, because we have stated earlier, energy increases as the distance increases, energy difference decreases. So now look at this. E1 is, we have look at this, minus 13.6 electron volt. We have E2 is E naught divided by n square, so n is 2, 4. So we have this minus 3.4 electron volt. E3, so n is 9 square minus then we have look at this E4. So now look at this, moving from first to second to third, negative value decreases, so the value increases, so this is changing. So now look at this, from year to year energy is increased. Now delta E, so let's see, E2 minus E1, which is equals to 13.6 minus 4, so this is 10.2. E3 minus E2, so we have 1.9. So now look at this, energy difference decreases. So energy of electron increases, but the difference in energy between any two successive level decreases as the distance from nucleus increases. So there, here we have to keep in mind is why energy of electron is negative. What is the final equation? So what is the simplified equation which is applicable to all the species, that is one electron species. So this is the equation of energy. So having gone through this equation of energy, let's define some more quantities here. So that is shell frequency. Shell frequency. Shell frequency is defined as velocity of electron in nth orbit divided by circumference, that is 1 by time. So therefore this shell frequency, this is equals to, we have Vn divided by 2 pi r n. Now look at this, we know the velocity equation, we know the r equation. Once we have this, we can easily define the orbit or shell frequency. If this is the shell frequency, then also we can define time period of revolution. Time period of revolution, Tn. So this is the frequency, so time period will be, Tn will be circumference divided by velocity. Circumference is 2 pi r n divided by velocity, so 1 by the shell frequency is known as time period. So we can define the time period of revolution of electron in a particular circular orbit. Once we have this, what is the frequency of this shell, then we can define ionization energy. Ionization energy is the energy required to remove electrons completely. Energy required to remove electron completely. Now look at this. In the first, electron is in the ground state, so we have to transfer electron. That means this electron in the ground state, this is to be transferred to at infinity. So when this electron is transferred to infinity, then this electron will not have any attractive force of nucleus. So that energy required to transfer electrons from the ground state to the infinite distance, that is known as ionization energy. So now look at this. Therefore, this ionization energy is equals to energy of electron at infinity minus energy of electron in ground state. So this much amount of energy must be supplied so that electrons should be completely removed from the new atom. So E infinity, electron energy at infinite distance is N0 minus E1. So we know the value of E1. E1 is minus. So minus comes out to plus. So this is 13.6 electron volt. So ionization energy of hydrogen atom is 13.6. So therefore, the ionization energy of any atom, that is 1 electron, will be equals to ionization energy of hydrogen divided by Z square. So ionization energy of any atom having 1 electron is equals to ionization energy of hydrogen divided by Z. So suppose look at this, the ionization energy of helium plus. So this is equals to ionization energy of hydrogen divided by Z. Z is 2 square. So this is 2. This is 1 by 4 times ionization energy of hydrogen. So this is ionization energy. Then we have atom which is known as separation energy. Separation energy is defined as energy required to transfer an electron from any excited state to infinity. This is from ground state to infinity. If electron is to be transferred from any excited state to infinity, this is excited state. Any state other than ground state is known as excited state. So this cannot be n equals n cannot be 0 of 1. This n can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So E required to transfer an electron from an excited state to the ground infinity. This energy is known as separation energy. So therefore, separation energy is equals to energy possessed by electron infinity minus energy of this excited state. So this is equals to 0 minus energy of electron in the excited state. So this is how we define the separation energy. So these are the various terms that we use from this board. So finally one more term. So when electron is coming from, so when electron is moving in a particular circular orbit, how many waves will be generated? Total number of waves produced by an electron revolving in a circular orbit. So when an electron is moving in a circular orbit, how many waves will be generated? So number of waves is equals to the value of n. So where n is the shell number. So if electron is in the first shell, one wave should be generated. If electron is moving in the second shell, so number of waves will be 2. If electron is moving in third shell, number of waves will be 3. So these are the various terms that we define from the Bohr's theory.